It's going to be a different service tonight. No, we're not going to do calisthenics. Don't worry. Yes. You may still be on the entry side of the 30s, but we got to roll it forward 20 years just to be able to catch up to me. So, no. Anyway, moving right along. So there's something I tried. Why not? We'll use the word. Why not? On a Sunday morning, and it was well received, and several people asked if I would pick it up and continue it on a Thursday night. So I would like to offer you tonight random nuggets. Dino nuggets. It's not chicken nuggets. We got the Tyson plant here. They got to be dino nuggets, right? So, what do I mean by random nuggets? Well, how many people have ever panned for gold? Panned for gold. Right? Yep. So, 4 or 5, you know. There are times that you scoop up dirt and you wash, and the only thing you get are wrinkled fingers. And then there are other times you get these tiny little flakes that if you look closely and you squint, you can convince yourself that you actually found some gold. And there are other times when it really stands out and you're like, that's cool. I'm going to do this for another 4 hours. So there are things that, let's face it, we're all human, all right? Again, I throw myself under every bus. You're welcome to follow me out in the street if you want to, right? There are times when, the service was great. Wasn't that a good message? What was it about? I can't remember, but it was awesome. I mean, maybe it hasn't happened to any of you, but, it's happened to me. There's one sentence that stands out, and that was gold. That was for me. I don't know who needed anything else that he said, but that one sentence, that was for me. That was mine. And I've collected random, I call them my nuggets, right? They're those things that stand out. Some of them kind of profound. Others, not necessarily profound, but it makes you think. Well, it made me think. Hopefully it helps you. Remind you to think. For my children, we just hope they can think, but anyway, it's just genetics. I switch microphones. So tonight I'd like to.
You sound better.
Is he? Sam says it sounds better. I like this microphone. It's cold.
I can't hear him at all.
I'm turning it up. Oh, it's the online. Are we having it? Speak? Yeah, get out of here.
You see the kind of see, Rodney Dangerfield had it right. Yeah, don't get no respect. Exactly. I don't like this microphone. It's cold.
I got the other one warm for you.
I know, right? Exactly. This one's just sitting around getting cold. So tonight, so on a Sunday morning, when I taught a adult Sunday school, I offered up some random nuggets, and it was very well received, and several people said, that was cool. Can you do more of that? So that's what I'd like to offer tonight. So it's going to be a very different service. Yeah, the title is Random Nuggets. And talk about randomness or nuggets, but hopefully you can take away a few random nuggets. And with no further ado, some of these are just going to be simple little sayings. Again, my goal is, or my hope, not goal, but my hope is that for the things that are just neat sayings, that you don't just look at it and say, wow, that would make a great little cross stitch to put on the wall. Actually think about it. Think about what it means. For those of you who know how to write, I'd love for you to write some stuff down. Take it away. Read. For me, my handwriting has gotten real bad, so I text my email account so that when I get home, I can look at my email and I have my notes. I mean, thank you for laughing, Sister Shirley. I appreciate it. Is it silly? Yeah, whatever. It works. God calls us his children. Yeah?
Yes.
But think about, have you ever seen God? Nobody has seen God. Have you ever physically felt God? Hang on. I felt God's presence. Different. Have you reached out and actually squeezed God? You haven't experienced him in a tangible way. Think about the fact that the angels live with him in a reality that is as vivid as you and your knee. You feel your knee all the time. It's there. You cannot doubt its presence. It is a constant piece of you. They're nothing but reminders. You can't get away. You ever thought about the fact that that's the reality of the angels and their relationship with God? They cannot escape the reality of God. They talk to God all the time. God talks to them all the time. There's a chain of command. Information flows. And yet God never, ever, not once in the entire Bible, does God mention holding an angel. He does not mention caressing an angel. He does not mention helping an angel. And he never called an angel his son. So think for a minute where that puts us in God's eyes. That of all the angels that he is surrounded with at every moment, you could walk away from him in an instant just for you. It's kind of sobering when you think about it. It is for me anyway, right? That all of these angels who know his existence and they serve him without question and without fail, as opposed to me. Without question? No. Without fail? Oh, Lord, no. And yet God gave me son. Pretty amazing when I think about that. Okay, Sam, just so that you can be happy, go ahead and throw up Psalm 103. Right? Exactly. That was good, brother. For as the heaven is high above the earth. How far is the heaven above the earth?
I don't know. I love.
Who said we don't know? Okay, yeah. So let me ask you a question. Where Sister Vicky, where does the earth end? When you go down the street, right? Where's the earth end?
Yes, it does.
Well, no, I mean, wait. Yep. The sky is up there, yeah? The sky is not down there, correct?
Right.
And the earth is down there. And the earth is not up there. So where does the earth end? Again, not a trick question. Amanda? The earth ends where the sky begins. And where is that? The ground. Okay? Now, it is proven that the universe is expanding. The universe is expanding away from a central point, which is why the Big Bang Theory came about, was that everything is expanding at the same rate away from a single point in space. Everything is fleeing from this point. And there was a big question. Politicians spent a lot of time worried about if the universe is expanding away from a central point. Is the force of gravity going to slow it all down and then bring it back so everything collapses in on itself? Because that'd be a bummer.
Yeah, that'd be the end.
Of course, it wouldn't affect us, but somewhere umpteen gajillion years down the road, right? It has been proven mathematically that the rate of expansion of the universe is such that it will continue to escape the pull of gravity. So the universe is constantly expanding, and until the end of time, will never stop expanding. So, think about it. For as the heaven is high above the earth, you start at the earth and you go to the end of the universe. If you travel at light speed, till the end of time, you will still never reach the end of the universe because it continues fleeing away. That's how great God's mercy is. Maybe it's just because I'm a dork, but that's cool.
He designed it. Of course it's
Yep. Okay, Sam. Verse 12. Here's the one you were talking about, Brother Wayne. As far as the east is from the west, so far hath he removed our transgressions from us. Bill, can you do me a favor? Can you throw that at me? Oh, he's like, I got this. Thank you. Appreciate it. He's got a good curveball. Sinker? Slider? Anyway. So, some of you were here when I talked about this before. Why does it say, as far as the east is from the west, instead of, as far as the north is from the south? And if you were here when I talked about it before, you can't answer. But why doesn't it say, would it be the same thing if it said, as far as the north is from the south?
No.
Why not?
There's a definite north and south pole. But the rotation of the earth never stops, or we hope it doesn't.
Here we have the earth. Because the earth is mostly water. You like the way I did that? Where's the North Pole? Correct. If you put your hand somewhere on the side and you go north, all the way up to the North Pole, now you go any direction. What direction are you going? You're going south. So if you go north, you reach a point where you can do nothing but go the opposite direction. It has a belly button. So now, again, start anywhere on the earth. What happens if you go south? You reach the South Pole, and you can't go any further south. And if you take one step any direction, which direction do you go? North, which is the opposite of south. So you are now going the opposite direction, and you're going back the way you came. Now, thank you for, and this was not scripted. I just happen to have wonderful friends. She's like, don't call me a friend. Now she's blushing, right? If you go east. But the benefit is that you can go either direction, and then it's like my east or your east, and either way, you're good. But if you continue going east, I'll rotate the planet for you. You tell me when you get to the end and have to start going west. Right? Exactly. Yeah. And that's why this is so amazing. People read the Bible and they're like, oh, yeah, as far as that. No, stop. Words matter. Think about what it says. It just said in the previous verse, stay. Good boy. In the previous verse, it says that God's mercy toward us is limitless. That it is impossible. It is mathematically, scientifically, until the end of time, it is impossible to measure the boundless mercy that God has toward us. And I'm thankful for that because I need it. How far away has he taken our transgressions? All the way. He's taken them all the way. They can't come back. If it went north, it could come back south. If it went south, it could come back north. But because God took our transgressions and sent them that way, they just keep going. I love that. Sacrifice. God required, you ever stop to think about, sorry, I know, you're like, dude, finish one sentence, any sentence, right? Sister Joyce, you can laugh at me, it's okay, I don't mind. You ever think about how beautiful the temple was? That was a nasty place. It wasn't beautiful. That was nasty. Okay, show of hands, just for fun. You ladies, I want y'all to be honest. How many of you are clean freaks? Go ahead. All right? You clean all the time. You got to appreciate clean stuff, right? Right? No, exactly, right? Can you imagine with nothing but sacrifices all day long? Think about how many animals are being slaughtered. Some guy walks up with a goat. There's another guy right behind him bringing in a cow. Another guy behind him has 4 turtle doves, 2 chickens, and a partridge in a pear tree, right? Everything that walks up all day. You have hundreds of priests in order to handle all of the sacrifices for all of the people. They're slitting throats, they're hanging stuff. Think about how much blood was just gushing and running. Think about the flies. You think the flies around here are bad in the summertime? Think about the flies on all that stuff. Nasty, disgusting, right? I mean, we think about, the temple must have been such a beautiful, no. The tabernacle was cool. The tabernacle's, that's very different than just going to church, right? And exactly, yeah. When they built the new temple, right? The first day, it was pretty cool if you showed up early. But by noon on the first day, right? Oh man, what a mess. But think about all that stuff. Why did God require sacrifice? Why did there have to be a blood covering? Why did he require blood? Why didn't he require something better? Let's roll it back to the Garden of Eden. To the very first sin. Adam and Eve tried to cover the sins themselves. And it didn't work. So instead, God provided a covering. And what was the covering? Animal skins. The very first instance of sin, man tried to cover it himself and failed. Yep. And instead, the example was made. There will be shedding of blood. There will be a sacrifice. And it is only through the death of another that the sin can be covered and remediated. All through the Old Testament, they didn't just go and sacrifice once and they were like, yes, we're good. No, it was like, okay, take care, Levi, we'll see you next year. They had to keep coming back. They had to continue to sacrifice. Why did they have to continue to sacrifice? Because it rolled forward a year. We keep sinning, but we don't have to keep sacrificing, right? But you nailed it. The sacrifice rolled the sins forward for a year, and you better be there with another sacrifice before everything caught up with you. But why did they have to keep doing it year over year? Why did it only roll it forward for a year? Because it was mortal. All of the sacrifices were mortal. All of the sacrifices were of animals. Every animal had a life. At the end of its life, it died. It had an expiration. Jesus is eternal. When Jesus became the sacrifice for us, our sins were rolled away for eternity. That was the difference. That's what made the difference. We don't have to go and sacrifice because the sacrifice was paid once and for all. That makes me want to shout all over again. Speaking of sacrifices, when they sacrificed, where did the sacrifice go? They brought it into the temple, they gave it to the priest slits the throat, hangs the thing, draws, quarters, skins, does whatever he's going to do, whatever, and they had to burn the sacrifice, yeah? And it was placed on the altar, and they lit it on fire, and they burned it, and it was consumed. When it was consumed, it was gone. They couldn't go get the meat back. It was burned up. It was incinerated. So they had like the heave offerings and such. Yep. And they had all the different things, and there were part of this, when they brought the animal, part of the animal was allocated for the priests, and there were so many different things. Yep. But once they took care of all of the other things, you're absolutely right. Once they took care of all the other things and whatever, when they took the sacrifice and they put it on the altar and they burned it, it was burned, it was gone, right? For all of you who like your meat cooked beyond well done, you like your meat to qualify as a sacrificial offering, okay? You take it off of the grill and you get a chainsaw and you cut it up and you still eat it, right? But back then, it was burned to the point that it was gone. They didn't go get it back off the altar. When the sins went to the altar and were destroyed and eliminated, they were gone. When we pray, don't come, put it on the altar, and then stand up and go like this and take it with you. If you're going to bring your problems to the altar, put them on the altar and walk away and leave them there. So often we come and we pray to. We got to stop praying to God. Come on, somebody give me a weird look. Right? Thank you. I'm glad somebody gave me a weird look. The problem is we're always praying to God. We don't need to pray to, we need to pray through. We come here and God, these are my problems. Let me describe them. Pretty cool, aren't they? I'll see you next week. No, stop. Quit picking them up. We need to pray through. We need to be able to leave them. How many people believe God's will is perfect? Show of hands. Come on. Be proud. All right. One person doesn't. Everybody's looking around. Who didn't raise their hand? I was busy. I was texting. I was checking Facebook, right? I'm totally joking. It's okay, sister. She's like, I raised my hand. I'm just messing with you, right? What did I even ask?
Yes.
Yeah. Who believes that God's will is perfect? We all believe that God's will is perfect. So why do we spend so much time trying to help him solve our problems?
Our way is better, I think.
Right?
It's not good.
Yeah. Trust. That's good. That's good. Do you trust God? Yes. Okay. Then stop trying to get involved and just let him solve your problems, and you just smile until the problems are solved. Oh, I can't do that. Guess you don't trust God, right? Right? Yep.
If you handle it, I'll guarantee it will not be as good as if you just give it to God.
I love bringing this up because
You don't have to tell God how to fix it.
exactly.
He will do it in a way that I wouldn't even think of, or else I'll say, no, God,
Yep.
not that way.
Right? And yeah, and not only will he pick a way that you didn't think of, but it's going to be so much better, and the timing is going to be, but it needs to be fixed now. You know what? Check back with me 5 years from now, and let's talk. Was it really better? Would it have been better if he had solved it right then? Or did it actually work out better that he waited 6 months and let other stuff and then solved all of it? Yeah. But you totally nailed it. It's a trust thing. It's trust and it's control. But I love bringing this up because everybody laughs, everybody smiles, and everybody says, no, we got to quit. We just got to let, okay. Yeah, and then I just stop and look at everybody. I love it. This is great. But I'm the same. I do the same stupid thing, right? We do this. Yes, sir.
Don't we have to pray diligently?
Yes. Yep. Yep. And we have to trust God. And so this is where I say, worry is the opposite of faith.
That's why yours help you. You look back at what you've experienced, and we're human, and we learn from experiences.
Absolutely. Not only do we learn from experience, and this is where we have to be careful, because it's so easy. I'm going to come home, hang out with you because we're so much alike in this, right? Well, see, 2 years ago I went through this, and this is what I did, and it solved it. So I'm going to do the same thing because then it'll solve it, right? I mean, isn't that the way we think? Right? Yeah. What we should do is look at it and say, 2 years ago I went through this, and I tried to fix it on my own, and I really goofed it up, and finally I just stopped and gave it to God, and the next day He solved the whole bloomin' mess. So what should I do this time? I should just give it. No, I'm going to go do the same thing I did back, I mean, come on. We're human, right? Somebody laugh.
Worked the first time. Why do you think it'll work the second time?
Because
Aren't you learning?
I love it. Exactly, Sister Shirley. But this is the whole point, right? We look at it and we're like, and 2 years from now, I look back at it and hopefully I'm like, well, 2 years ago, I looked back 2 years and I'm like, well, this is what I did and I messed it up and then God fixed it. So I'm going to not mess it up for as long before I let God fix it. We're human and we need to be able to laugh at ourselves.
We are human and we can't fix that by ourselves, but we don't have to be stupid.
Yes, exactly. Right? Absolutely. So it was funny, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were all worried about this, that, the other, and I looked at him and I said, you're worried about this? And the person said, yeah, because, and I looked at him and I said, see, I'd just say them, because I'm not going to give away whether it's male or female, because then you're going to spend the whole time trying to figure out who I'm talking about, right? But I looked at him and I'm like, so you're worried about this, so you don't have faith. Is that what you're telling me? They're like, well, yeah, you're right. Thanks. Worry is the opposite of faith. It is. It really is. Yep. When you get right down to it, worry is a sin. And I would say it's a sin largely because it proves that you don't have faith.
Well, it's saying to God, you can't fix it.
That's right. I'm going to take that, Sister Shirley, and I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of Sister Cassie on it, and I'm going to put it together, and I'm going to rephrase it as, worry is a sin because you're looking at God saying, I don't think you can fix it because I don't trust you. Right? But if you have faith, what are you going to do? You're going to sing. You're going to shout. You're going to have a great time. You're not going to worry. Why not? Because the very best possible solution is on its way. If you got a call from Ed McMahon saying that you won the Reader's Digest sweepstakes, first of all, stress because he's dead, and if you got a call from him, it'd be a little weird, right? But you get my point. If you got a call saying, we got this, Brother Wayne, we have this armored truck on its way over to your place with $10 million worth of gold bullion. You would suddenly be like, Sister Joyce would be like, why are you why are you dancing on the kitchen table? Get off the table, right? Come on, what happens if it breaks? You're like, we'll buy a new one. Right? Nothing could rain on your parade. Why? Because you'd be so full of confidence because your problems are solved. Well, why don't we let God do that for us? We get so caught up in stuff. Here's my challenge to you. The next time you find yourself walking like this, stop and remember this. Remember this moment. If you find yourself walking like this, stop and ask yourself why. Why aren't you walking like this? Yeah. If you're walking like this, chances are life's beating you up. Well, if life's beating you up, why are you worried? What's the problem? Okay, bad stuff happens. Who cares? You got wonderful stuff coming. I mean, man, if I had an armored truck with $10 million of gold bullion, and I looked outside and my car was on fire, I'd grab my phone and pull up Auto Trader and I'd be looking for a new car. I wouldn't even go put it out. Right? I mean, let's be honest. How big would your problems be if you really trusted God to fix them? So just let them go.
I got this deep question.
Yes, sir.
Whatever happened to Auto Guru?
I love it. And Rocket Mail and LimeWire and Napster and true. Okay, so I'm going to go full nerd on you. Who here knows what the Fibonacci sequence is? What's the Fibonacci sequence? It's a mathematical sequence. Yep. Sister Joan, do you know a little more detail on it?
Okay, 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 3 is 5.
Yep. So the Fibonacci sequence, typically they start with 0 and 1. And you add it up. And what do you get? 1, right? So you add 1 to the next number. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 4 is 7, right? And it's just a numerical progression where you just add the numbers together and then you take that sum and add it to the next number and it progresses. It's just a random whatever, right? Did you know that if you look at the head of a sunflower, when you look at a sunflower, here's a sunflower right here. See, I'm looking at it with you, right? There are clockwise circles and there are counterclockwise circles. And the number of clockwise and the number of counterclockwise circles are usually numbers that are next to each other in the Fibonacci sequence. How random is that? It has been proven mathematically that for the shape of a sunflower seed, that is the most efficient way of packing in the most sunflower seeds into the smallest area. It also arranges them because it does it in the concentric circles going opposite direction. It also arranges them so they get the maximum amount of sunlight. How random is that? Right? The Fibonacci sequence is also underlies the golden triangle, I think they call it, in art, which is a ratio in art of lengths and widths and distances that are the most aesthetically pleasing. So when you look at, for instance, the Corinthian columns, when you look at the Colosseum and the Parthenon and all of these things, so much of what the old Greeks and the Romans did is based on mathematical formulae. Because you think about how amazing it looks. But if it was taller, it would look goofy looking. If it was shorter and as wide, it looked like me, right? Can I sit next to you, Amanda? That way we look the same. The issue is you have an excuse. I don't have an excuse, right? See, this is just baby fat, right? You know, you're going to lose all of it, right? I don't have that excuse. I just get big. I know, right? Yeah. But you look at all of these things, it's all based on mathematical formulae. You think about the human body. Take a sperm and an egg, put them together. It takes half of the DNA from one, half of the DNA from the other, stitches them together into a DNA helix, double helix, thank you, which then divides and divides again and divides again. And it doesn't just split the cells, but the cells develop differentiation and then specialization. So as the cells divide, these cells become liver. Those cells become brain. Well, in Greg's case, there were fewer of those, but yes, right? But two cells become one cell, stitches together this DNA, which turns into, is it 3 trillion cells in the human body? Except for me, it's like 3 1/4. Is it 3 trillion cells? Does anybody know? I see a nod back here. 2 cells become one, which continue to divide and divide and divide and become 3 trillion cells with amazing specialization. Think about gravity. Think about the fabric of space and how, so one of the things that Einstein posited, just bear with me, I actually have a point in this, right? Einstein described the fabric of space, because everybody just describes stuff as though it was just a plane, right? You know, just a flat surface, you know? Gravity pulls stuff that direction, whatever, maybe something pulls that way. And Einstein looked at stuff and he's like, no. It's like you have literally a piece of fabric, and if you put a bowling ball on a piece of fabric, it pulls the bowling ball down there. So if you roll something by it, it then develops this elliptical orbit around it. And that is what describes our planetary orbit around the sun. Space is not flat. Space is actually described as a fabric. Light, a photon of light, the smallest particle of light, is a wave which has no actual substance, like sound. Sound is just a wave. Sound isn't a particle. Sound doesn't have mass. Light, there's what's called the duality of light, where light is both a wave with no mass, and it's a particle that has mass at the same time. My point in sharing this stuff with you, God made this. He made all of the science that governs the world around us. I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. To think that there was this bang and all of matter just became whatever, and there was this primordial ooze, and this critter crawled out of the swamp and became an ape and became man. Forget how ridiculous that is. Where did math come from? Where did chemistry come from? Where did science come from? Where did the duality of the particles of light come from? Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, all these Big Bang Theory people, whatever, you know, they want to be so focused on where man came from. It's like, I don't even care about, you know what? I'll give you that. I am willing to give you that we came out of an amoeba that crawled out of a swamp if you can explain how, in the completely random explosion, all of math and science and the laws of nature that cannot be broken and are totally inviolate happen to randomly occur. You explain that one to me, and I'll agree that we came from apes. And this is where I look at it, and I'm like, for me, again, these are just random nuggets, right? The next time you're standing outside, and the rain comes down, the rain doesn't go up, right? Stand there and thank God for what he created. Right? Yeah. Right. And I love the person who's like, so if men came from apes, then why are there still apes? Then I look at Tyler and I think it makes sense. It's so much more fun to pick on him when he's here because he just gets involved. Is this helpful at all? I mean, all of these things that I've talked about are random nuggets that I've written down. All of the random things. So hopefully some of these are resonating and they're interesting.
If you want to believe in God for your ability, you don't want to believe him, it's your ability.
So I am not saying and I am not implying that this actually happened, okay? But again, as long as we're talking about science. Light is energy. If you want proof that light is energy, roll up your windows at noon, go to family table for lunch, and come back out and get in your car. Your car is warm. Why is your car warm? Because light shone through the windows and heated up the interior. Take a magnifying glass. You can set fire to paper. Ants and whatever. I see the look on your face, brother. I heard you say it, and I see the look on your face, right? Greg's looking down, so he's like, oh, yeah, it's my dad. I'm not going to admit what I did. I know, it wasn't Greg. It was his brother. See, whenever I say you shouldn't lie in church, pastor says, you just shouldn't lie, right? He's never here when somebody else says it. Again, I am not saying that I believe this is true, but if you want a little food for thought, right? Light is energy. If God said, let there be light, and he put all light that ever exists in one little spot, what do you think would happen? If all energy in the entire universe was in one place where God said, I'm going to put light right there, what would happen? There'd be a giant explosion. Almost like a Big Bang, huh? Somebody said today something about, it's like God has a sense of humor. Oh, God totally has a sense of humor. And I could totally see God saying, you know what? Let there be light. Let it come from right there. And everything goes out. And he's like, thousands of years from now, people are going to be arguing about this. And he just sits up there, and every time somebody starts arguing about, no, there was this Big Bang, he's like, yep. And who put the Big Bang there? Again, random nuggets. The Israelites wandered through the desert for 40 years, correct? No. You're like, wait, what? They didn't wander. There you go. Say it again, Sister Joyce. Not Sister Joyce, Sister Joan. God led them, yeah. No, that's exactly, right? See, it's because Moses was leading them, and men just never asked for directions. If a woman had been leading, they'd have made it there in 6 weeks, right? No problem. Sister Joyce, why'd you just look at your husband like that? But think about it. God led the Israelites out of Egypt. He also led the Israelites through the wilderness. So the next time you feel like you're in the wilderness, quit stressing about it. Ask yourself if God is leading or whether you're wandering. If you're following God, then don't worry about whether you're in the wilderness. But why do I say it's okay to be in the wilderness as long as God is leading you? Because where did God lead them to? The promised land. So if you find yourself in the wilderness, ask yourself, am I wandering or am I following? If you're wandering, that's on you to sort out. But if God is leading and you're in the wilderness, you're probably there to learn a lesson. Learn your lesson and get to the promised land. Speaking of the promised land, the spies went off into the promised land. They all came back. Can you imagine grapes so big that in order to carry a cluster of grapes, we got this giant limb. I run this limb through a cluster of grapes. Okay, brother, I'll get one end, you get the other. Ugh. And we're carrying a single cluster of grapes. Yeah. Right. Those grapes had to have been like the size of coconuts. They had to weigh like what bowling balls do. Think about it. That was crazy. And those were just the grapes. Imagine what everything else was like. You think Iowa soil is fertile? The promised land was amazing. And they came back. Caleb and Joshua said, it's ours. Let's take it. What did everybody else say? Ah, man, the giants, this, that, and the other. Now, let's think about what they actually said. They got these giants, and we're as grasshoppers in their sight. Did the giants ever tell them, you guys look like grasshoppers? Where did they get the idea that they were grasshoppers? That's it. It was their own minds. It was their own fears. They looked at the giant and they said, I'm afraid. Caleb and Joshua said, God's going to kick some giant bahunkus, right? God's going to work an amazing victory. I can't wait to see what God's going to do. And everybody else is like, everybody else has trust issues, right, Sister Cassie? Yeah, everybody else is like, oh man, we just look like grasshoppers, whatever. And it became a self-fulfilling prophecy.
But think of how many miracles God had done for 40 years.
Right.
Wouldn't you think that Lord, hey, he can give us water, he gives us food, he gives our clothes never wear out, our shoes never wear. Where's the rain?
Right? For those online, Sister Shirley is once again saying, for 40 years, God worked miracles. Fine. You want food? Great. Here's manna. Oh, you want meat? Okay. Here's quail. Oh, you want water? Here's water. I mean, their shoes grew with them. Tell me you wouldn't like to have that, right? Yeah. With this economy and inflation, you ever think about how much the clothes are going to cost for this one? Whew. Yeah. Man, it's crazy, right? Their clothes grew with them. They didn't even have to have the manna and stuff. They just didn't go shopping. Wow, what a miracle. And here they are like, oh, well, I know that God could make all of our clothes that were put on us when we were little kids grow with us. That's no big deal. But these guys are like 3 feet taller than we are. Dude, it's a hand-me-up guy, right? Be careful. Again, when you start worrying, stop and think about it. How much of it is you in your own mind saying, This problem is insurmountable, and that's why I'm afraid, and that's why I am concerned, and that's why it is so important for me to try to find a way to solve my problem. Instead of, you know what? When God takes this giant out, I'm going to make sure I tell Pastor I want the microphone because I'm going to have a testimony. Everybody who's going to go through anything like this in the next 40 years is going to remember my testimony, and they're going to derive faith and strength from it. When they start worrying, they're going to think, you know what? I remember when that person testified, they went through the same thing. They looked at it and said, God, you got this. I'm just going to watch.
That's why you need to be in the Word. The examples are there.
Which is another random nugget. You've heard, yeah, I know, I keep talking about my gut, right? They say if you don't put it in, you can't put it on. I'm like, yeah, and I ate 2 of them, not 1, right? If you don't put it in, you can't put it on. It's just basics of weight loss. If you keep eating Twinkies, you're going to get fat. You don't want to get fat, quit eating the Twinkies, dummy. I mean, it's not rocket science. Flip it around, the corollary is also true. If you do put it in, you will put it on. So going back to Sister Shirley's point, if you want to grow in God, study His Word. People are like, oh, I want to grow in God. It's like, when's the last time you picked up the Bible? Like, let's see, I didn't go last Sunday. I went 2 Sundays ago. God's will is perfect. He does not have a plan B. If you want a different plan, you're welcome to do whatever. He's not going to change His plan. He's going to sit there with His plan, and He'll play Minesweeper until you get back. And when you get back and you're like, okay, God, I tried it. And yeah, it didn't work. Like, okay, this is what I proposed to start with. How's it sound? You're like, it sounds pretty good to me. Always put God before your family and friends. There's one that's tough for some people. Like, don't mess with my family, right? Always put God before your family and friends. Because at Judgment Day, you're going to stand alone. You ever think about the fact that God is a gentleman? He really is. God is a gentleman. What is one of the characteristics of a gentleman? He won't force you to do something you really don't want to do. Sometimes when I pray, I remind God of this. Without you, I cannot do anything. I cannot succeed. I can't anything. It doesn't matter how hard I try. But through you, I have already overcome. I have achieved, I have accomplished, and I have overcome. I don't even know what it is that I have achieved, accomplished, or overcome. But through God, I have already achieved, accomplished, and overcome. Speaking of praying, it's important that we remind God of what He's done. Not because God is forgotten, but to let God know that we haven't forgotten. There have been a couple times here lately that I've made some comment about, us Israelites. It's so easy to look at the Israelites and make fun of them and talk about how dumb they were for, the things they did. And God did, look at everything that God did. And then the next day they completely forgot, right? Yeah, great. God brought them out of Egypt and whatever. And Moses went up and 72 hours later they're naked dancing around an idol. 72 hours. It was within 72, but I come back. How long did it take? I mean, it didn't take long to take their clothes off and dance. How long did it take to melt all of the gold and make a calf? I mean, Moses had to have been barely out of sight before they were gathering up the jewelry. I mean, how ridiculous is that? So, let me tell you what I did last week. Tell me what you did this week, right? Yeah, we're just like the Israelites. We do the same dumb things. So it's important to remind God of what he's done for us, so that he knows we haven't forgotten, and to bring it back to our memory too. My mom taught me, however many times you ask God for something, thank him that many times. Oh yeah. Oh, praying for a house? I bet you've been praying for a house for a while. I was praying for a house for a while. Of course, then the inclination was when you get the house, you get so busy fixing up the house and doing stuff, you forget to thank God. You thank him all the way through the escrow process, and about 72 hours later, you're busy. You're mowing the lawn, you got to clear out the basement, you got to do stuff, you got to whatever, get the U-Haul back. Yeah. Then the first mortgage payment comes and you're like, oh, thank God. I still walk along, dogs are getting my clothes all dirty and whatever, and I just say, thank you, God, for new house. Because that's what I called it. Right? But go back and thank God again for what he's done. Take a walk down memory lane. Remind yourself of what God did when you were in the wilderness. You might find that when you finish praying, you got a lot more trust and a lot more confidence and a lot more faith, and you're ready to move on. Okay, this one is not a random nugget. This one is a joke. I love people from the South because they have a sense of humor. I'm from California. Californians get offended, right? People from the South have a sense of humor. There was this preacher from Georgia. He was talking about when the Israelites were in the wandering through the wilderness, and they'd wake up in the morning and there was this manna that just coated the ground, and it was this like these granules, these white granules everywhere. He said, y'all, God gave them people grits. I laughed. I just totally busted up. I thought that was pretty funny. I hope this has been helpful. Random nuggets. Everything that I've said tonight was just stringing together one random nugget after another of just things that over the years somebody has said, and I've written them down. So I hope that there's something that it wasn't just, I hope that this wasn't one of those, oh, that was really good. Well, really, what'd you get out of it? I don't know, but it was great. I hope there's something that you can take away. Because God's amazing. Tyler here lately, he's had a call to action. His call to action, twice he's issued a call to action. Both times, the call to action has revolved around grace. How big is God's grace? Mercy. Thank you. How big is God's mercy? It's limitless. It is scientifically proven to be limitless because the Bible says, from the earth to the heaven. And science has done, the mathematicians have run the numbers, they've run them multiple times. The universe is expanding at a rate that it will never stop expanding till the end of time. The scientists, the atheistic mathematicians and scientists that are going to go argue that the Big Bang is true, just demonstrated that God's mercy to us is limitless. To infinity and beyond. That's exactly it. Yep, absolutely. I hope you've gotten something from this. I hope that moving forward over the next 6 months, the next year, sometime you'll be going through something, whatever, and some random thing that I said tonight will come back to your memory. You'll be like, what did Joe say? And just make something up, and if it sounds good, then just credit it to me. I'll totally go with it. I don't mind. Yeah, Greg's used to that. Let's all stand. God, we appreciate the opportunity to come and gather together in your name. Not to learn anything new necessarily, but to be reminded of what we already know. That once again, Lord, as we go for a walk down memory lane, as we think of all of the things that you've done for us, as we think of your amazingness, your awesomeness, your incredibleness, that, Lord, it helps us to develop greater level of trust in you, a greater level of confidence, that it will be easier for us to leave our sacrifice at the altar, to leave our problems and walk away, to walk away whistling, knowing that you have everything in hand, that your will is perfect, your timing is perfect, your plan is perfect, and our job is just to sit back, smile, celebrate, and watch you as you slaughter the giants. We appreciate your mighty power. We appreciate your mercy in our lives. Keep us as we travel. Keep us and bring us back again on Sunday.